Welcome to our Real E-commerce Stories Secrets Revealed. I'm going to share my story today of a few years ago, actually. And I actually realized that it was during this time, probably a week before the 18th of November, when everything happened just a few years ago, because it was during the week of Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and the week of Christmas. So the story is how I scaled. I wouldn't say just I think it's more like how we, at the time I was working in with an e-commerce accelerator. And it wasn't a big team. It was a team of like five of us, six people that did this. And how I did it, it's a combination of cash flow, right time, the right moments, Facebook advertising, and also a little bit of luck. So I think that the three elements of this, it was, I didn't go from 0 to 4.2 million in 2 weeks without having a previous, let's say, having started a structure that allowed us to do that. So to be able to do this, we were selling already for a year. So there was a few things that were going. Sorry, the dog is barking. There was a few things that happened, and yeah. So we were working with Facebook for a while, and we had account manager in Facebook that allowed us to having the support that we needed to actually scale this fast. Because obviously for 4.2 million, we had spent about 40% went in ads. So we had to also spend 2 million, almost 2 million in advertising spend. And you don't do this on Facebook from zero. You actually do this by incrementally. And if you had to do this today, you will have to basically send an email to support on Facebook, and then they scale you in different increments. And I think it's like the first is in $5,000, and then it's 15,000, it's 50,000, and then you start to going in 100,000, 200,000 per day, 300,000, up to like 400,000 per day. We were at the top, I think, advertiser already on for the Italian market, and so that allowed us to have access to our account manager, meaning that when we were actually scaling and we needed to go on that particular ad account, when we needed to bring the spendage up to like 300,000 per day, we were able to do it via a WhatsApp message, and was pretty immediate. It wasn't through anything that it wasn't through a support, going through Facebook support, because if you go to Facebook support, I would say good luck. It's going to take weeks before it happens. So, and the other thing that I think was in consideration is the fact that we were selling on PayPal before, and we were selling also kitchen gadgets. And the kitchen gadgets had a very low price point, meaning that we were drop shipping with the kitchen gadgets. And thanks to the low price point, our PayPal account was very, very healthy. We had a very, very low, pretty much inexistent dispute rate. So that allowed to basically build a relationship with Papa, with PayPal. Sorry, got confused with the company. It allows us to have a relationship with PayPal that we didn't have any blockages. So we didn't have any reserves. A reserve is when a payment gateway takes part of the money and it holds them almost like in hostage for a amount of time, ranging from 2 months, 3 months, sometimes 6 months, depending on your risk factor. And I'm going to go a little bit deeper about that, because I think those are the things that you need to consider, or everyone needs to consider when starting an e-commerce store, but also when scaling an e-commerce store. So back to PayPal, we allow us to pay for advertising straight away. So we connected our PayPal account to our Facebook advertising account. That allows us for the money to come in from the customers, and the money that were coming in from a customer, we could reinvest them almost immediately. This is basically very important, because if you don't do that, it's basically impossible to do what we did. You will need to have huge amounts of cash in reserve, because most payment gateway like Stripe or credit cards or payments gateway like this, they pay out between 2 or 3 days. What does it mean? It means that let's say I make $100,000 in sale today. That $100,000 is going to hit my bank account in 3 days. So for scaling from 0 to 4.2 million in 2 weeks, we had to double and sometimes triple the budget every day. So if you look at the curve of the screenshot that I'm going to show you after, you're going to see that we're starting making like 100,000 a day, 200,000, and then 300,000 and 400,000, and we are on Black Friday. We made the million, like a million in one day. So we were able to do this by doubling the budget every day and doubling the spendage every day. And we had good payment terms with our supplier at the time. So we were paying our suppliers 10 days. That allow us to get the money to pay the suppliers. And then we were paying for ads with the money from PayPal. So what you're going to see sometimes in an online store, and this is kind of metrics that every e-commerce store has, when you have like a Stripe or a credit card processor and PayPal, you will see a 50-50 split. Usually it's 50% of people paying on PayPal, 50% of people pay on credit cards. In the last few years, things have changed a little bit. PayPal has kind of, especially in US and UK and Australia, has decreased the amount of people paying with PayPal. Countries like Germany, completely different story. Actually, 80% of people pay with PayPal. So let's say we were making, I don't know, one day we made, let's say the day that we made $1 million. So the day that we made $1 million, $500,000 went into a PayPal account and $500,000 went into the credit card account. Into a credit card processor that the ones transferred through in our bank account after 3 days, 3 to 4 days. If it wasn't the weekend, obviously, because if it's the weekend, then obviously the weekend is not the banking processing day, so it skips. So what we did is, like with the money that we got from PayPal, we were actually able to reinvest them in ads, and the money that we got into our bank account, we were then paying our supplier 3 or 4 or 5 days after we actually received the money. So, and what was left over was our profits. So these particular conditions that we were in allow us to do that. If you're starting an e-commerce store today and you have not invested on Facebook before, or you don't have a PayPal account that's a history, you're never going to be able to do this because you're going to hit the roadblock. The roadblock comes from Facebook that says you cannot spend this amount of money. So they're going to block you there and they're going to make you wait. So they have to do all the assessment and things like this. And on the other end, PayPal says, no, you have to stop. You're growing too fast. The risk is too high. So I'm going to start putting reserves straight away. I'm going to, cap you. They're going to cap you. And then you're basically running out of money. And you, even though if you want to grow, you don't have any money to pay for ads, or the money is not available to you. So unless you have a huge cash reserve that you can tap into, these things would be impossible. So what did we sell? We sold a blanket. So we sold this, and it was a perfect product during the time of the year. So imagine like November, December. It was actually the perfect product to sell during Christmas. So 70% of the people that bought this blanket, they got it for a Christmas present. Now, I will recommend everyone out there to don't sell. Be very careful when you sell products that can be presents for Christmas, because if you don't deliver them in time, people will cancel them and they don't want to receive them because they're not for them. It's not for them. It's for someone else, right? So a lot of the things that happens, or the reason why we lost all this money, I'm going to go in details a little bit of how actually we lost the money, the profit that we made. It was because a lot of people didn't receive the product, and we hit major issues on supply chain. And then they eventually received the product, but they received it on 28, 29. Sometimes they received it in January, and they canceled the order. They canceled the order before. They called the credit card company and canceled the order through the credit card companies. Beside the email that they send to you, it's obviously when you don't get what you want, you sell to a credit, you contact your credit card, you open a chargeback. 80% of the people we sell to was also in US. People from US are very familiar with the method of, calling your credit cards and opening a dispute. And the people in PayPal was a little bit better because PayPal has a kind of a better dispute system, I think, than credit card companies, and a higher winning rate as well. So we found this product. This product was really good. Was a really good product for the holidays. It had also a high average order value. We were selling on an average of $150 average order value, which is really good for an online store. And also that also played into the way we were able to running advertising and invest in advertising. When you have a higher average order value, you can do things like manual bidding. And manual bidding is a technique that was used during also the Facebook days and the dropshipping days. And I'm pretty sure some people are still using it. But you need to have a high average order value product to be able to manual bidding. What is manual bidding? Manual bidding allows you to set up like very high bids on your ads, and then by placing super high bids, you're making sure that your ads is seen by as many people as you can. So you can do things like you can actually spend 20,000, but I can't even put a number. You can spend as much as you want by adjusting the CPM and putting a very, very high budget. You can Google manual bidding; is probably going to a better explanation than what I did. It's actually easier to show and tell. But the main rule of manual bidding, you need to have a product with a considerable average order value. So you can't do it with products of $10, $20, $30. The issue of this blanket was that it's built, or it's made. Sorry, not built, but it's made by hand. So the scalability of the product was really low. And our supplier told us, there's no problem. You can do this. We can do 2,000 per day. And obviously, because whatever, we were, not crazy at the time, but definitely wanted to push the boundaries. If my supplier send me 2,000, I'm going to sell maybe 2,500, 3,000. Because we're gonna play catch up anyways. It's fine. Some orders gonna be delayed and things like this, and we're gonna be okay, right? The issue is like they couldn't produce 2,000 per day. They could produce 500 per day. They hit the major issue in production. And one thing that I learned from working with China, and I'm not saying every Chinese supplier is like this, but this is the issue that I encountered a few times. Yes, a lot of Chinese suppliers, they will sell yes to you, but yes, it doesn't necessarily mean yes. It's just they don't want to say no. That kind of started the series of events that then unfolded after we started actually making the money that made us lose all the money. So the importance of cash flow I already talked about. The importance of winning ads as well. We had a great content team at the time. There was like 2 people doing content, and we were testing content constantly. I think we had about 85 different creatives running when we were scaling the blanket, and it was we had different landing pages, different product pages. We were doing videos, retargeting on Pinterest, and we were doing Pinterest, Facebook, Google. So we had Google retargeting, Google remarketing, Google, and Pinterest all in retargeting, and then we're running traffic acquisition campaign. Cold acquisition was on Instagram and Facebook, so in the Meta network. These are some pictures of the blankets that we used. The first one is the winning picture. So what we noticed, we said in all the creatives that we did, one creative made 70% of the money, and it was the one on the left. Somehow that picture had a major impact with everyone. We used that picture as well on the product page. We changed the picture on the product page after analyzing it. And then the picture in the middle was actually interesting. We were getting a lot of comments that it kind of catch the attention, because if you look at the picture of the girl, she's wearing her singlet, reverse. So we had a lot of comment that was like, oh yeah, it's I noticed the woman getting a reverse picture. So what did I learn from this? I learned that a creative, not necessarily related to the product, but the singlet of the girl. We weren't selling the singlet, obviously. The creative that catch the attention with the particular detail, that is unseen, then the user was spending more time to it, and eventually were clicking on it. So the click-through rate was incredible in this in those three pictures. First one first, and the second major click-through rate. I think we had a 4.5% click-through rate at the time. And then we were constantly working on new original ads. So what we did is, like, when we sold the blanket, we were able to ship the blanket to Ukraine. Go Ukraine. So this is actually how I started for work in Ukraine. And because we had a studio there, we had a photo studio there. So we worked with a studio in Ukraine where the blanket was shipped, and they started taking original pictures with the model. So this is actually original picture, when the pictures that you saw were pictures from influencers. And the Black Friday. So Black Friday is actually next week, in about 10 days, maybe not the week after, Monday. I don't remember. Sorry, guys. But yeah, so Black Friday is coming soon. Black Friday is the day that we did almost $1 million in sales in one day. And we started obviously before, as you can see from the screenshot that I shared on LinkedIn. Black Friday is on Monday. Yeah, Black Friday is on Monday. It's true. So when is Cyber Monday? Probably the Monday after. So these are some screenshots here. So today. This is kind of the daily intake that if you look at the screenshots, when it says today, it's actually just the morning. You can see, like, the one on the right is the full day, but on today here, you can see that he actually arrived at 12 p.m. That was Italian time. I was in Spain when we did this. I was actually in the Canary Islands, so that was same time zone as London. As you can see, we had major peaks. Like, you can see the peak here, right? You can see when the peak goes at 1 p.m. Why the peak goes on 1 p.m? Because the Americans were waking up. And when Americans were waking up, they were buying. So most of the business that we did was actually in US. So that's why you can see the peak here going up, and then it goes down and then goes up again, because that's when they go to sleep. And again, so in total, if you look at the curve, we started making from zero. We went from, like, I think 10,000, 20,000. This is daily revenue: 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, 100,000, 200,000, and then we were basically doubling the budget every day, and we're doubling the revenue every day. That's as simple as that. That's how we did it. And on Black Friday, we just at the goal from our Facebook advertiser, we increased. I think we were able to increase to 400,000 spent daily. And on Black Friday, we spent $400,000 in one day, and we did almost $1 million. It's funny still saying all these numbers because I've never seen the money, and it's almost like playing a game it's like playing a video game where you see all these numbers, on the screen, but then you don't actually see any of the money. Kind of detaches to it. So production issue. I talked about the production issue. Here we go. This is actually a picture of the factory floor of our suppliers that was trying to produce the blanket. I saw how this blanket was made by hand. They actually make it like this, hand by hand. So imagine one person was able to make 10 blankets a day maximum. We were selling 3,000 blankets per day. So you needed 400 people a day to do the things, and the supplier had like 20 people, so they couldn't find the people. And then oh my god, it was a disaster. They couldn't find the people, and they couldn't find the material, because the material as well was particular. So imagine, like, when you have this huge production issue, not only the production issue caused major delays in the supply chain, but also the product quality. So, like, we couldn't understand what was going on, because we had some pictures saying from customer of blankets that were horrible, and then we had influencer literally posting pictures of our blankets because they were amazing. So I think they come down as well to the production issue that we had. So blowback is consequences of actions. So the store had 1,000 reviews, 98% bad. That's horrible. 1.1 on Trustpilot. How much cost a blanket? Oh yeah, this is a cool question which I got here. A blanket, it was different sizes. So we had like a small size, a medium size, and a large size. The small size was 79. The medium size was 189. The large size, which was basically 2 meters by 2 meters, 180 by 180, like a big square, like this, like massive. That was 299. The one that we sold the most was the mid size and the big size. And then actually, this is cool. The question that that I got asked here. So when you went into the product page, you had like the small size, the big size, and the large size. In the picture of the product page, we obviously had the large size, the picture that I saw you before. The promotions was done with the large size pictures. We wasn't done with the small size picture. The customers, this was such an impulse buy cost. And when we were analyzing the metrics on the website, we could see how much the average time that the person spent on the product page was like 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds. Meaning that they were seeing the product. How much profit did you got from the one blanket? Oh, yeah, it was 50%, 50%. So yeah, 50 to 60% profit. Yeah. So usually you want 75%, but with a product that you have 299, yeah, so it's 50%. So the metrics were like, if I sell a blanket for $300, it was around 40%, 35 to 40% in ads, 45 to 50% in products, and then the profit was around 15% all in all. So it wasn't much. I mean, this is kind of, but that when you're doing drop shipping, these are the metrics that you're working with. The ideal would be to have a product, including shipping, obviously, a product including shipping that costs you probably 25 to 30%, and then your advertising spend around 40%. So ideally 25% profit it's a great achievement. Also, this was a new store, meaning that we couldn't really leverage any email lists. It was literally pure acquisition, cold acquisition. And one thing actually on this question is that the store had the blanket, but we had a lot of upsells. An upsell made about 20 to 30% of. So you're direct connected with a supplier to manufacture the blankets, right? You're direct connected with a supplier or manufacturer of the blankets. So the supplier and the manufacturer were the person that was making the blankets was also shipping the blankets to avoid time issues. So we had about 30% as well of sales coming from upsells, and that helps a lot. So people were coming in from the blanket, spending $300, and then they were adding other products, right? I already acquired that customer, so the 20-30% really helped us out. We're increasing our profits to like 20%. So with 4.6 million that we did, we should have taken in $1 million, like give or take. It was like $1 million profit. Comments. This is like blowback. We had 2 customer service agents at the time. They didn't even have a customer service tool, so they were on Gmail, and we were starting getting like 4,000 tickets per day, 3,000 tickets per day. It broke. We hit a point where we couldn't send the Gmail. You can't send more than 500 messages per day, and yeah, we couldn't send them anymore. So we had to increase our customer service in a week time of, I don't know, 20 people, from 2 basically 20 people in 3 weeks, and moving into a customer service tool. I think we moved to Help Scout at the time, and also training the people at the same time while we were trying to deal with all these things. So it'd be crazy. Yeah, so then we had major things as well. We bought, like, this is actually a cool story because this is a girl. She's an influencer, or I don't know, a photographer. I think influencers as photographers. We found a similar blanket to in one of the stock photos, and we used it. And then she went on Instagram, and she had like a lot of followers, like 70,000 followers. And she was like, "Hey, you stole my images," and things like that. And then we were like, "No, we found your images on a we found your images on a stock photo site, so we have the rights to use them. And she was like, well, if you don't take your images down or you pay me an invoice, I'm going to keep on bashing you on social media. So we had to pay her an invoice to kind of keep her quiet. That wasn't nice. It happened twice, actually. This is one example, but it happened twice. Because we found these images, and I don't remember, I think it was Fotolia or Shutterstock and things like that. And the blanket was identical, and I was like, yeah, let's just test them out. And then it wasn't even the best-selling images. It was just like some images. So here we go. There's a kind of a picture of my dashboards at the time of my Chrome extension. Chrome. You can see like the tickets on PayPal. I was closing like 300 tickets a day on PayPal, and then I was doing disputes on Stripe. It was crazy because I was trying to help out, and it was. I think I remember spending Christmas doing disputes, like 400 disputes, 500 disputes every day. Not nice. And yeah, here we go. So as I was saying before, we had different. We couldn't understand what was going on because it says Secrets the World. There are 3 chunky blankets on November 24. Here we go, like a week from now, and they didn't arrive in time for Christmas. Yeah, perfect example. And then when I got them, I couldn't believe my eyes. The blankets were supposed to be a blanket size, were the size of placemats, as they're pure acrylic and fall apart. I can't believe I paid $44 for each blanket. They were supposed to be 50 centimeter by 60 centimeter, which is small, but pretty drape over arm. Mine only measured 30 by 55. Total joke. I filed the claim. Buyer beware. And this is like, we got this quite a bit because one thing that you have to understand are customers. And when I sold amazing products shipped like within a day, customers will complain on reviews. They're rarely not going to rave about your product, even though they like it. So, but an unhappy customer will has a much higher chance to complain about this. I was overly concerned over ordering. This is like a good review that we got, right? I was overly concerned over ordering my chunky blanket due to multiple negative reviews. Here we go. I started filling out a claim. Oh, I even started filing out a claim with my credit card company to get reimbursed for the blanket. Then I received it within 12 business days. Now, this is a perfect example of actually what was happening as well. She received it in 12 business days, which is not that bad. Really not that bad, considering, like Christmas times and all of this. Although a lot of people were filing complaints just because it went on a panic. There was like panic. So people that were buying, they were looking, oh my God, these guys are a scam. I need to get my money back. And then they were getting the product. So we got a lot of like disputes from people not receiving the product, but we got also a lot of disputes from people that were receiving the product and were just like panicking. So anyway, so that was kind of an example of an happy customer and success with customer. Here we go. So we had some success too. So these are pictures of people that received the blanket, they shared on their social media. Some were photographers, some were influencers and things like this. So that was good. I mean, it was really, really good. So how do we lose all the money? So I will lose all the money. Very simple. We got a lot of disputes, and I'm talking about thousands of disputes. I'm not talking about, usually the average dispute rate on a store, this is recommended 0.3, 0.5%. 1%, you're still high, right? 1% meaning that if you have 100 orders and one person's open a dispute on the credit card, that's 1%. We had at the one time 700% dispute rate because we had to kind of shut down a lot. Like we couldn't sell anymore. Obviously, we had to shut everything down. But the blowback, you make 4.5 million, 4.6 million in November. The blowback doesn't arrive until December because obviously people wait, right? So you're shipping the product and people wait 10 days, 12 days. People start to open disputes when after the time that you said that they're going to receive the product is not met. So the blowback arrived on the 15th of December. So around this first week of December, when we started to see it was like, this is going to end badly, we completely stopped advertising. We completely stopped everything. And what happened was, because we stopped all the orders, no orders were coming in, or we were doing probably 10,000 per day. But then all the blowback from November started to arrive as well. So our dispute rate went up to like 700%, 600, 700%. When your dispute rate goes up this high, and dispute rate, I'm talking about credit card dispute rate on Stripe, and then I'm going to talk a little bit on PayPal. When your dispute rate goes this high, not only payment gateway start to put major reserves and blockages on your account for any future order, but also you enter in a program that MasterCard and Visa have invented. And it's a program that if you hit a high dispute rate for 1 month in a row, 2 months in a row, or if you are double, like a high risk merchant, you're going to get fines, like fines that police give you. Like, I give you a fine, that's the fine. And the fine is $50 per dispute. So we started getting fines of $200,000, $65,000, $85,000, and that's it. Like as simple as that. So I would say in a million, 50% of the money, fines we had to pay. And then 50% of the money, it was disputes gone. Because what was happening is like I shipped the blanket. So I paid for ads, I paid for the products. The blanket is shipped. The blanket is on the way to the customer. The customer opens the dispute. The credit card company will make the customer win. 9 out of 10, they make them win the dispute based on the fact that, the time is longer, right? You said you're going to ship in 10 days and it's already been 15 days. The credit card company doesn't care about the fact that you already shipped the product and the customer will receive the product. So the customer then opens the dispute, gets the money back, and then you receive the product. So in that moment, I lose the money of advertising, right? And then I lose the money of the products as well because the customer then received the product. On top of that, I get a $15 dispute rate, and that's not a fine from my Visa MasterCard. That's just like a dispute fine. Every time someone opens a dispute, is $15 that you pay. If in case you don't win the dispute. So the rest of the money that was lost like this, it was lost by money that was taken from our account because the customer opened a dispute. So what we can take from this, how do you scale so hard? How do you scale to this amount of money? It comes down to cash flow. So how much cash do you have on hand? So there's 3 factors to consider. First factor is the risk factor. So every payment gateway, either you're working with Authorize.net or Stripe or any payment processor, payment gateway is someone that processes your payment that you connect it to your online store. So any payment gateway has a risk factor, and the risk factor that gives it to your business. And the risk factor is takes in consideration the nature of business, how long have you been in business, the history that you have with the SAP payment gateway, how far, and mainly the biggest one, where your products are manufactured. So if you're manufacturing your product and if you are shipping your product yourself, meaning you have a warehouse as well, and also how long does it take for your product once it's shipped to arrive to the customer. The risk factor, once you're put in, once the payment gateway assess you and gives you a risk factor, that affects you the way they manage your money. So they affects your reserves and the payout timing. What is the reserve? Reserve is that if you have a high risk factor, a payment gateway might come to you and say, you know what, I'm going to keep 20% or 30% or whatever it is. It can be 50%, it can be 100%. In PayPal, after this, we had 100% held for 6 months. So when someone pays you $100, $30, if you say less 30%, is kept by the payment gateway. So you're not getting in your bank account. The payment gateway has it for 2 or 3 months. Usually it's 3 months. It's like 90 days. That's kind of the standard. So obviously, if you, on the question that I got before, how much money you are making per blanket, perfect. If your profit is 30%, it's not really an issue because, I mean, at the end of the day, they're just keeping your profit. You're going to get your profit in 90 days. I mean, you cannot reinvest your profit, but whatever, you're fine, you're wait. But if your profit is 20%, that means that they're not just taking your profit, they're also taking something else. Meaning that if you don't have a big cash flow, that's the money that you have to pay to suppliers, that's the money you have to pay to advertiser and things like this. And most suppliers, they are not putting you on a 90-day term, and advertiser, they want the money straight away. So the payment terms with suppliers is really important. payment terms with suppliers on Facebook as well, or Pinterest, or things like this. So if you have like a credit line, is really good. Usually a credit line is something like, they say, you have like 100,000 or 200,000 credit line, meaning that you don't have to pay for ads straight away. You can pay them maybe in a month's time or 30 days time. Or some supplier will give you 15-day term or 30-day term. Usually not at the beginning. And rarely, if they're based in China, they're going to give you any terms. You have to pre-buy the stock. But having payment terms, and we have payment terms with suppliers, so they allow us to actually scale that fast. So if you want to scale this fast, 3 things to consider: risk factor, making sure your risk factor is low, 0, so it doesn't affect your reserve and your payout timing, and also have good payment terms with supplier. So this affects the cash that you have in hand and the cash that you invest in either buying for traffic and pay for the product. And the other things to consider is advertising. So cold acquisition. How do you run cold acquisition, and how do you scale with cold acquisition so fast? Times have changed a lot. I would not think that someone can do what we did right now on Facebook or whatever it is, Meta right now. At the time was just Facebook, or Instagram, or let's say the Meta network. I don't, after iOS 14, things have changed a lot. At the time, CPM were not as high as it was right now. CPM is how much we pay for advertising. I think at the time it was around $15 to $18 in US, and now you're looking into $30 to $40 in US in some cases. So advertising costs twice what it used to be. But the return on ad spend is what you have to keep in track. And we had a 2.2 to 2.5 return on ad spend on every study. And even if we were down the budget, we had like small dips on ROAS, but overall, then it was coming back on 2 to 2.5. So you have to make sure that your return on ad spend doesn't dip as you scale. And that's the kind of the hardest thing the media buyers face today more than ever. And in the past, we always faced, which is maintaining a positive ROAS as you increase your budget and as you scale. Because the more you scale, the more your audience gets smaller. And the smaller the audience, the more the cost goes up. And the more the cost goes up, the lowest return on ad spend you get. Super important, upsells, leverage upsells all the way through. They give you 20 to 30% revenue extra to your product. It helps to increase the AOV, which is the average order value. And when you have a high average order value, you can do things like manual bidding. And when you have a higher average order value, you can play with numbers a little bit better. You can invest better. You can be more bold in your advertising. You're not so constrained from the margins, because small difference in a margin on a small average order value, they can really put you on a loss. But if you have a high average order value, which is like $300, you can play on a small difference, $10 or $20 and things like that. So at the end of the day, you actually will be able to see a little bit more of your profits coming through. So these are the 3 things that affect mainly when you are scaling, or at the time, that's what affected us. And that's what we did. Have a positive cash flow. We had a positive cash flow. And then we were able to leverage upsells. We were able to maintain a positive ROAS by even doubling the budget. And we were working a lot with making sure that the average over the value was steady, and trying to increase it as much as we could. So after that, what happened was the almost sank the, like this what we did. Not only we lost all the money, but we lost 8 months of opportunity to scale the business again, even to actually make any money in the future. We did 2 weeks of fun with about 7 months of trying to repair for the damage that we did. Because obviously we burned all those relationships that we had with advertisers, with payment gateway, with the bank, with suppliers. We broke basically all the relationships that were built. And then the terms that we got were changed. So all the good terms that we had with suppliers were gone, obviously. So we didn't have any payment terms with suppliers anymore, because obviously they got scared. And then the payment terms that we had with Stripe, I think they kicked us out, and then we had to find another payment gateway. And the payment terms that we got with PayPal were impossible to maintain, because they pushed a 6 months 100% 100% reserved for 6 months, meaning that the money that you're getting for PayPal, we were seeing them in 6 months, not 20%, not 30%, all of it, 6 months. And obviously, like this, you cannot grow. It's really, really hard to grow. Yeah, so we couldn't launch new products, we couldn't launch new projects, and yeah, it made everything really, really hard. And we also find ourselves in with a massive team that we had to let go. We had to let go a lot of people because yeah, you just have this peak of that are completely outside the normality of your business, and is not really healthy. So what I recommend is always progressive scaling. When you are there, it's really fun. When you are there, it's amazing. It's like you feel so accomplished. You're getting such a dopamine hit when you see these numbers going up, 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 and then you just keep on doing what you're doing. The issue is that a slow, steady increase of even 20% a year, not 20% every day, 20% a year is much better than having these massive peaks. Everyone gets scared. Everyone freaks out. Fulfillment center freaks out. Payment gateway freaks out. The bank freaks out. Everyone doesn't like that. Like, it's and your risk is a major factor that people don't consider. Payment gateways is the hurdle of e-commerce, right? Especially for new businesses that don't have a lot of history. They hold the money. They hold your money. It's not you. They actually hold the money. The customer doesn't pay you directly. He pays the payment gateway, and then the payment gateway then gives the money into your bank account, but they put the terms. If they want to keep the money for as long as they feel that is needed, and legally they can take them up to 180 days. And I can tell you on the next event, because that actually happened. They did keep our money for 180 days, and I had to go through lawyers to get them again. And that wasn't because we scaled too hard or it wasn't a bad business. We actually very healthy business in a product was shipped within one day. We're shipping the product in one day, and they did hold it for 180 days. So I think that's on the next episode of Secret Reveal, with PayPal taking all the money and almost taking the company down. Yes, that's right, Daria. Yeah. So I hope you found it useful. And if you have any questions a little bit more in detail on any advice that I can give you of how payment gateway works, or if you had any issues as well, if you are a direct to consumer brand that is listening through, or an agency, and if you want to do this, or if you are having any issues regarding topics that I talked, I'm always happy to help. And also I have, luckily, a nice network of people that are actually still or worked in PayPal in risk and worked in Shopify in risk. So I can always tap into their knowledge and refer you to someone that can help you out. So I love helping people, especially e-commerce businesses, as much as I can. So don't be shy in the community. Just reach out to me or put something up, and I'll pick it up and see what I can do. Some question from Patricio. If you had time machine and you could go back to that Black Friday, what would you do to actually achieve a good Black Friday for the company? Patricio, I would not do what I did. I would have said, I would have kept I would have investigated a little bit more of how many blankets they could produce. I would say we could have sold through Christmas and not stop in the store and keeping all the money by making, I would say, 20 to 30,000 a day steady, and then increasing probably 20 to 30%, maybe 50,000 a day. Yeah, probably 1.5 million in 2 months. Yeah, 1.5 in 2 months would have allowed, I think, to 1.5 to 2 million in 2 months. And if I go back, I'll do that, because I would have done probably 1 million in November, then 1.5 in December, and maybe 1.8 in January, and then maybe a little bit lower, but then keep on, keeping it steady. So now making 4.2 million in 2 weeks, but maybe making 4.2 million in 6 months to 7 months, or maybe 8 months, but then keeping actually the money. That's what I would do. I hope you answered the question. It was fun though. It's a story to tell. So I'm gonna wait like for any other question. If there's no other question, I'm going to cut it off here and go. And it was really really nice to share this story. It brought a lot of memories, especially during this time, because it does feel like it was actually during this time, and it feels like a lifetime ago, but it wasn't. It wasn't actually that long ago. It kind of made me realize how many things I did after that, and from Viceroy Group to there was pre-Viceroy Group, pre-Viceroy, and everything that we're doing around right now with pop up. So it was a really nice experience for me to share it with you. And yeah, bye bye. Thank you so much.